I'm recording.
I'm clubbing.
Ooh. Check that out. 11 years.
What's today?
It's our anniversary.
It's our 11th anniversary. I love my gold digger. She's a good wife.
Oh, God.
Gravelly stuff.
This is going to be the winning bucket. Best gold of the day is coming out of this bucket. I'll have no way to prove it, so I'm just going with it.
The box is clean. Howdy y'all, Andy and Barbara back on the stream again today. Let me show you what we're doing. So we're down on the stream bed again today and we're cleaning out a crevice, and it's not what you think. It's a big crevice. So far I've got about 4 buckets of dirt out of there, and that big rock is probably 15 feet tall, and these 2 boulders are right in between where 2 heavy streams come through. Basically the stream bed splits around these 2 big rocks, and it looks like, based on the debris, that the water level was probably at least 12 feet high as it came around here. So there should have been a big boil right behind the big rock, and then we're looking at a gravel bar that's behind the smaller rock that, as we're sampling it, we're getting some colors out of about a foot down into the gravel bar, which would have been in the eddy behind the 2 and right where the 2 big streams meet. Today I want to go over my A52S and just kind of show you guys that, yeah, they will work in slower water, and maybe give you some hints on using your A52S river sluice in the smaller streams. when I got started on this morning, I test panned and found some nice colors, couple of pretty good nice flakes. There were rocks all the way up to about that level, about that deep, and then we started getting into this nice kind of muddy material, and it's where everything has been getting trapped in between these two rocks as the river's flown by. And just breaking it out of here using the big breaker bar, and just trying to break it loose and pull it forward where I can dig it up here where it's easy to get to. All right, let's fill some buckets. So here's my A52S Super Sluice by Keene Engineering. It's a great piece of sluice. The nice part about this sluice is you don't have to classify your material before you put it on the sluice. Basically, the sluice is a two-layer design. You have a top layer water flow that's going across the top of the punch plates. You have an underlayer water flow that's going through the grizzly bars, and that's a slower water flow than the top. One of the mistakes that I see people make that makes life difficult with this sluice, especially in lower water, is that they'll put their material onto the flare of the sluice, and the material clogs up the grizzly bars and stops that slower water speed across all the mats that are in the bottom layer. So one of the things you want to try and do is you want to try and get your material to fall right on this silver metal punch plate just above the grizzly bar. The top water layer, and right now the water is a little slower than I would like. Normally I like the water about an inch deeper coming into the sluice and flowing well over these nuts that hold the flare on. And that pretty well blows all the material right out of the sluice. When the water is slower like this, and you can see this is not a big roaring river we're working on today. This is kind of a small stream. And even what's going into the flare of the box is not all that much water. I do have about 3 inches of drop, so I built myself a little dam here, and there is a little drop in the natural terrain in the stream, so I have about a 3-inch drop, and even with the smaller amount of water coming in, it gives me enough water flow that the box is operating like it's supposed to. Another way to know when you're in that slower water flow of whether this box is operating the way it's supposed to is in these bottom riffles. If you are seeing after you run some material about half of the green mat and the expanded metal mesh down there is clearing out after a minute or so after you put your material through, then your flow through the box is heavy enough. If you have a higher water flow and you're seeing too much material clean out or not enough material clean out, you may need to adjust the angle of your box a little bit. One of the things about when we're running the material in the slower water like this is we're going to put the material onto this punch plate, and what you're going to see is that the material will wind up with gravels getting stuck on the punch plate, and all we're really going to do is take our hand and go back and forth across those gravels, and then they will wash right out of the box. You don't have to worry about interfering with the water flow to the mats, because again, as long as you're not blocking the front grizzlies, there's a slower paced water flow underneath these than there is on top. So anything I do up here is not going to interrupt that slower flow on the bottom very much, or enough to cause a problem. All right, let's put some material through this thing. So as I said, we're going to concentrate putting our material on this metal punch plate just above the grizzly bars, the brass colored grizzly bars at the bottom. That way, all of our big stuff, this is unclassified. This is just material I pulled straight out of that crevice in between those two big giant boulders. So I'm going to pour this material straight onto the sluice, and then you'll see how this goes. So this is slow water flow, so I'm going to have to work with it a little bit as compared to when I'm in a heavier flow and everything just blows right out the top of the box. But the box is usable even in this little stream water flow. So let's run some material. So you can see those bigger gravels, a lot of them are already rolling right out of the end of the box. When we start having problems, just take your hand and go back and forth across the box. If you get one that gets stuck because it's slow water, go ahead and reach in and toss it out. But you can see the box is clear and the bottom riffles are clearing out like they're supposed to. So we'll just keep pouring material. So what's happening, there's a bunch of material caught in this gravel, but as I go back and forth, I break up that dirt. It falls through the punch plate. If it doesn't fall through the punch plate, it's falling through the mesh up here. So by just going back and forth, all that dirt's working loose from that rock, and it's also washing that gravel for you. And then all of the smaller stuff is going straight down to the bottom level. So we'll just go back and forth. You can see the big gravels just flew right out of the back of the box. So this is exactly how it should be operating. Some of this slate stuff, this bedrock here is very slaty, so sometimes it likes to get stuck because it's so flat. But again, the top water flow, you can interrupt that water flow and stick your hand in there and work with stuff like that and not interfere with what's going on below in the mat. So I've run one full bucket of unclassified material already. I don't have to stoop over a bucket. I don't have to classify it. I just take it and pour it right in. You can watch the big gravel just blow right out of the end of the box. The other nice thing here too is if you're working with like material that's got a lot of clay or it's real sticky organic material, you can take it out a handful of time and just hold that material in your hand and rub it back and forth across that punch plate and rinse that punch plate down and work that clay ball so anything that's in it falls through. And then if there's any gravels or anything that are in it that are too big to go through, they're going to blow out. Which is the other part of this sluice box with the A52S, is if it's big stuff and it blows off the top layer, it's going to hit those big Hungarian riffles at the bottom, which also have matting and expanded mesh metal underneath them. And so the bigger nugget type stuff that's too big to fall through from the top layer will get trapped down there in the bottom of the box. Again, it's slow flow. I'm just kind of demonstrating the box will work efficiently in slow flow, but you have to work at it a little bit.
Do I have to wear gloves while doing this?
It is suggested to always wear gloves when you're doing any of this stuff. I mean, it keeps you from getting cut up. So I just ran 2 buckets of unclassified material. It's through the box. I didn't have to work for it. All I had to do was run my hand. Everything else flows right out of the back of the box. The riffles down here are starting to clear out. What I'm looking for down here is after about a minute that I can see the green carpet for about half of the distance from the big riffle to the next riffle. I should be able to see green carpet and expanded metal, and that tells me that the material that's making it to the Hungarian riffles is actually getting out of the box like it's supposed to. It's being exchanged, but the heavies are staying behind the riffle like they're supposed to.
Did you get enough to get your wife a trip to Disneyland for your anniversary? In other words, we gotta do a lot more prospecting if I want to go back to Disneyland.
So we're panning out concentrates from about 10 buckets of material. It all comes down to this like cup and a half. Think about this creek, it has really coarse black sand. Some gold starting to come through.
Yay! Got dirt everywhere.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Nice. That's almost enough for a trail.
Yeah, you can see the gold starting to peek through
Mm-hmm.
in the back. Oh yeah, some nice pieces in there. Just about as far as I'm going to take it home and finish it off. Like I said, there's a ton of really heavy magnetics in this creek, so it's really difficult to pan it completely down. A lot easier to take it home and work it. But let's see if we can get a peek at what we got.
Oh, if you stop shaking the thing. Oh, look at all that lead.
Lots of lead.
We got a bucket for that.
Can already see the gold starting to come through.
Yeah.
Get back up there. Yeah.
Told you that Home Depot bucket full was where the good stuff was. Sorry.
Yeah, it's wanting to wash all over. This big black sand is tough, but
It's not a bad clean out. I'm happy.
and there's a bunch more of it that's caught in the black sand. I've got a piece right there, and there's more in the bottom, but
I'm going to try to get a little bit closer. I make no guarantees about the quality of this video that I'm recording.
here's another piece. Yeah, there's a bunch of gold still stuck in the black sand. This heavy black sand is really hard to deal with. Take it home and classify it down to 30 mesh, take the magnet to it, put it in the blue bowl to get the fine stuff that just almost impossible to get out of this big black sand. But we got something. So you can see the A52S definitely catches the fine gold, does a good job even with the slower water speed that we've got here, and didn't have to classify anything, so saved my back a lot of trouble for 10 buckets of material.
Saved my back too. Alright, shall I get a special patented concentrate holder?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know the only problem with using a cotton candy container to put your cons in? It smells so good after a day of being out on the creek. You just want cotton candy. But the cotton candy's inside. Those are the cons we're going to take home and clean up. Some gold in there, some lead in there. Not a bad day on the creek out here. Yeah, shout out to my buddy Mike Vendetta Prospecting, dude. Your sticker is on my box.